Yo, what's up, everybody? Man, listen, man, welcome to another episode of KaneSaid. And I'm your host, Kane Bradfield. Y'all know my slogan, the fame is free, but the grind costs, baby. Listen, man, I got a special guest in the house. Look, the dogs of all dogs. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great.
Yes,
Thanks for
sir.
having
Yes,
me.
sir. Man, let the people know who you are, baby.
Oh, I'm Kyle Wilson. I'm the OC here at Troup High School. I just got in my first year at the school here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So listen, man. You know, so when I found out that you was over here, it was important to me to you know what I'm saying, to man, bring you in, man, to find out your story, man. You know what I'm saying, man? So look, tell me, how did you fall in love with this thing called football, man?
Oh man, well it goes. I mean, the high school day, I felt like I wasn't a very good player, but
Okay.
I felt like I understood the game.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
when I graduated high school, I went into the Army, and when I went in the Army, when I made that decision, I said I either want to get into law enforcement or I want to get into coaching.
Okay.
So I went in the Army as an MP and realized it wasn't law enforcement, but they had me for 4.5 more years, so I had to ride that
But
puppy
hold
out.
on, I'm gonna stop you there though. But what was your deciding factor that, hold up, this ain't what I want?
Oh, it just you got it. The paperwork I think was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do all that paperwork. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know about all
Forget
that.
all that,
And then
right.
you know, you got to deal with a bunch of knuckleheads.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on the law enforcement side, a lot of times you ain't dealing with the good people. So I was like, I don't think this is it.
And my cup of tea type stuff,
And,
right?
I said, so it was coaching, and then when I got out of the service, I went back. My parents lived in Tampa, Florida at the time.
Okay.
I went home and I just wrote. I looked at the top 25 that year, and
Yeah.
I wrote all them coaches
Really?
and said, yeah, and just said I wanted some experience.
No,
Why
okay,
I
now,
go to
now,
school.
so what year was this now? What year?
This was I got out in 91, I think was
Okay.
the year I got out, January 91.
Okay.
So I went back to Tampa and I finished up my AA. So while I was doing that, I just started writing these college coaches
Really?
and said, I just want to
Opportunity.
be a coach.
Yeah.
I just want experience while I go to school. I'll work for nothing.
Yeah.
And long story short of it, you know, Coach Bowden at Florida State said, we'll give you opportunity.
Get out of here, man.
Yep. That's how it is.
So give me the emotion though, man. I don't know if you remember the emotion, man, when you got the say so from him that, hey, here's an opportunity, man. How'd you feel, baby?
All right, so that's an interesting story in itself too. So we started correspondence back and forth. This was back when people still wrote letters.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, come visit me. All right. So me and a buddy of mine that I had talked to, I thought at the time I was going to get a chance to go to Florida State. So I talked him into going to Florida State.
Right.
And so I go up for this meeting. Coach, I ain't in the meeting like 2 minutes. I walk in. He said, hey, how you doing? You want to come here? I said, yep. He goes, well, son, I don't know what I can do for you. Why don't you write me in July? And this was April. And, we're supposed to be going to school,
Right.
and the school's in it. And I'm like, I walked out of that meeting. My buddy was waiting for me in the lobby. I said, well, have fun at Florida State. I'm going to USF. So I couldn't wait. I got impatient, and I wrote him in June.
Right.
And I wrote him in June. And I come home from work so it was sometime in mid-July.
Okay.
So I come home from work one day, and this is when people still had answering machines.
Right.
I had a message on my answering machine was Coach Bowden.
Man, no way.
Hey, buddy, I think I got something for you. And I just stood there. I was like,
Yeah.
It was that type of reaction.
Yes,
I
sir.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So what it was, what I come to find out is he was testing me. He was seeing how serious I was about this opportunity to come, because they were big time back then, and so he was just testing me to see if I was serious about coming and doing that. And so when I got that message, I was excited.
You like, but Coach, let me ask you though, like, so, I mean, what was the deciding factor, man, for you to go ahead and write him again? Because most people, honestly, would be like, dang, he told me to wait. So, but what made you say, nah, man, let me write him one more time?
Well, I felt like that was what I wanted to do, and I felt like that was a great place. Now, a little backstory to that is USF was starting their program at the time, and a guy named Jim Levitt was starting the program.
Okay.
And so I had actually, when I wrote all those schools, I got about 5 good response.
Okay.
One of them was Georgia. And I thought, oh man, I might get to go to Georgia. Then they fired Ray Goff, so that took that one out.
Took that one out the quick.
It was so. Well, one of them was Kansas State, and I flew out there. Now I just left the Army, and I was in Fort Riley, Kansas, which is right there by Manhattan, Kansas.
Okay.
So to go back out there was like, oh, all right. And so his defensive coordinator at the time, when I met him, he said, look, he's probably going to get this USF job. Well, he ended up getting it. So while I was writing back and forth with Coach Bowden, I was talking to him. I was actually able to go to his office because I was living in Tampa at the time. So I would go talk to him, and then I would tell him, yeah, Florida State's doing this. But I tell you what I appreciate about Coach Levitt. He told me, he said, if you get an opportunity to go to Florida State, you don't think twice about coming here. I was like, wow.
That's crazy. Like for him to say something like that.
Yeah. He said, you ain't going to work for a better group of guys. And he felt like they were just starting up, and he thought that would be a great opportunity. So that's why I said, when I said I'm going to USF, because I was talking to him, and I'm like, well, I just lost this opportunity.
I got to go over here now, yeah.
But, the guy told me to write him, and I said, I mean, if you don't take your shot, you're definitely not going to get it. So
you got to shoot your shot, baby, yeah.
And I was a little nervous because he said, write me in July, and I'm like, I can't wait till July, man. I wrote him in June.
Yeah.
And so when he called and left that message on my answer machine, I was like, oh, wow.
Man, do you remember some of that letter?
I don't, but I have it somewhere.
Really? You got to keep that.
No, I don't have the letter. I mean, I have some of the correspondence. But it was a voicemail, and I had that. I kept that little cassette tape somewhere. I think I still have it.
Man, you got to keep that, baby.
Yeah,
when
he said, this Coach Bowden, we'll give you an opportunity. So I ended up at Florida State as a student assistant.
So, man, give me some of that experience, though, at Florida State, man.
Oh, man. Well, here's the first experience. This one's a crazy story, too. Coach Bowden's So I get there the first day I get there, and he goes, and I walk into the office, and he sit down with him. He said, Coach, what would you like to coach? I said, man, Coach, I'd really love to coach linebackers. I like that aggressive nature. I like getting after him. Okay, buddy, you're going to coach offensive line. I'm like, why'd you even ask?
Yeah, why you asking me?
So, but in hindsight, I loved it because here's what I figured out in high school. If you can coach offensive line, you get a job anywhere. Wow. Because everybody needs a good offensive line coach. And
so he knew all that.
I mean, I guess in his foresight, but, I mean, they always need help on the offensive line. Not a lot of people want to do that because it's not a very glorified coaching position. But I love it. I love coaching it. So as the OC, I coach the quarterbacks here, but I'm an old line coach at heart. So when I designed the offense, I've designed it for everything to be simple for them offensive linemen because I don't want them thinking. I want them playing.
Just balling out there.
Yeah. So we put a little bit more pressure on the skill guys to learn a little bit more of the changes and things that we do. But I want them line to just play ball.
Play ball.
That's it.
Wow. So, okay, man. So as soon as you finish at Florida State, gentlemen, what happened next in your life?
Okay. So when I left Florida State, I wanted to be a college coach. That's what I wanted to be.
Okay.
And Coach Rick, who was the offensive coordinator at the time, said, if you ever get into high school, it's tough to get out. So I had applied for as you know.
What do you mean by that, though? I mean,
it's hard to get back up to that level. So
I'm
once you're in high school, it's hard to get back up to college. So if you're in college,
stay in now.
Stay there.
Okay.
So that's what he was trying to say. And as you know, hirings and firings happen in cycles. So they can be large one year, and the next year they're small. So the year that I was done being the GA at Florida State, it was a small cycle. And again, it's about who you know. All those guys at Florida State and all the jobs that came open, there wasn't a lot of guys they knew. Yeah. I got in on one job. John Lilly, who's the tight end coach at North Carolina now, was the tight end coach at Florida State and recruiting coordinator at the time. So me and another guy had applied for an offensive line job at Catawba College. And the other guy got the job because he knew him from working FCA camp.
Dang.
That guy is Mike Bloomgren, who's the head coach at Rice.
Man, this is crazy.
Bloomgren was a student assistant when I was the graduate assistant at Florida State.
Man, what the world?
So he got that job because of a relationship at an FCA camp.
Right.
So I ended up, I had 2 job offers in high school.
Okay.
One was in Orange Park High School in Jacksonville, Florida, or Orange Park, Florida. And then the other one was Wayne County High School in Jessup, Georgia.
No, familiar with Wayne County.
Yeah. And I looked at the teacher pay scale, and I saw that Georgia paid more. So I took the
Georgia,
job.
Georgia,
I
I'm
took the
going.
Georgia job.
Yeah.
And then in the long run, it's turned out because the pay scale's really gotten better for coaches. So I mean, that's in Georgia. Florida coaches don't make much at all.
For real?
So that's how I ended up in Georgia coaching.
Wow.
So I took and how I got that job was the guy that was the head coach at Wayne County had come down to watch our bowl practice. We were getting ready to play in the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And the defensive GA at that time had coached with him at Griffin when they was at Griffin together. And then the guy said, "I'll hire you right now."
Off the spot, just
Yep.
right in.
And that was it. That's how I ended up coaching there for 3 years.
Okay.
Then I got the head coaching job at a school called Long County in Ludwig, Georgia.
Okay.
So right there by Jessup. So I don't know if you know where Hinesville's at, Fort Stewart.
all that.
So Ludwig is right in between Jessup and Hinesville, and you talk about the one stoplight town. They had one
That's
stoplight
it.
on
That's
84. That was it.
Yeah.
I did that for 6 years, and that job about ran me out of football.
For real?
Yeah,
It was just
it was
tie-in type stuff.
It was the program they just started the program. They did a few years. They did like 1 or 2 years in the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
They didn't win a game. They started the program back in 2002, and when they started it back, they just kind of did everything wrong. They just jumped right into varsity play. So from 02, 03, 04, they had not won a game.
Oh,
they were
man, that's
0
tough.
and 30 and getting the brakes beat off.
Oh, that's tough.
So, when I took that head coaching job, I wanted to try to, I felt like I wanted to build something and be at a school that I'd be at for like 30 years
Right.
and be like, that's my.
It's my my spot.
But it was when I took the job, they were single A, and then about a month into the job, they said, "Well, we're moving up to double A." Should have walked away right
Probably
there.
just like, oh man.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, I can do this. Well, we ended up winning 2 games that first year. So I got the first win in school history.
Oh man, they probably thought you were the man.
They
though.
thought I was the best. Then we move up to double A. We go 2 and 8. We go 4 and 6, 4 and 6. And those last 2 years, those 4 and 6 years, we went into the last game 4 and 5 with a chance to
500
get a 500 and give them their first non-losing.
Yeah.
And we just did not do very well in those last 2 games. And then the next year I went 0 and 10. Graduated all my good players.
Yep.
Went 0 and 10.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I was the worst coach.
Probably
that
all
ever
they try to
lived.
run you out of town
Yeah.
then type stuff.
So then the next year, I held on for 1 more year, and we went 1 and 9. And I remember sitting in the office, in my office in the weight room, about mid-September, thinking teaching and coaching ain't for me anymore. I need to do something else. And I was ready to give it up. Now I looked and I looked and I looked for something else to do, and couldn't. I'm like, I don't know what else
It's
I
in
can
you,
do.
coach. It was in you.
Well, I ended up resigning after that year,
Okay.
and I tried. I didn't really do anything. So you're talking about that. The season got over in November, and I'm talking about that next Wednesday I resigned,
Wow.
and I couldn't really find a job, and I'm sitting in there, and so a buddy of mine, who's the DC
But
at
I'm
Thomas.
gonna break you up, but let me ask you this, coach. Now, okay. Now, when you resigned, did you have a piece?
I did.
Okay.
I felt like there was a weight lifted. Because I just felt like I'd done all I could do there, and it was just. I mean, it was just a hard
Most definitely.
time, and people
definitely.
just started turning on you. And I was doing it. Now, my first year there, I had 3 coaches and me. And then, so I was doing it with 4 coaches. And then in the last year, they got me 2 more. So I had 5 coaches.
Oh man, you balling. You got 5 coaches.
But I was, by that time though, I was pretty much, I was
Yeah.
wore out.
Yeah.
And so a buddy of mine, this is when Under Armour could do all these camps.
Okay.
Well, he was in charge of that. And he said, come work this camp. And I said, all right, I'll come work it. And that kind of got the fire stoked back in again. I ended up getting a job at a school called Appleton County.
Familiar?
And they hired me. So now they were a wing T team. And when I was at Long, I was a spread team. And they wanted to go to spread, but they didn't know exactly how to do all. So they hired me as the passing game coordinator and come in there. And so the first year we went to the Final Four.
Oh, but that felt good.
Oh, yeah.
That
it
felt good.
It felt good. And they felt like I was some kind of genius quarterback guy. And I
Who
was
is
like,
this
man, I
guy?
just figured.
He's the man.
And then, but I love this. I love to tell this story. My backup quarterback
Okay.
at Appleton County, and he played wide receiver for us, was Byron Buxton, center fielder for the Minnesota Twins.
Man.
Yeah, I like. Now the reason he was the backup because they didn't want him. They knew
That he's a baseball guy.
he was going to be a baseball guy. Matter of fact, he was standing out there in our first scrimmage game against Jeff Davis, and he was like he wasn't going to play. And they told him, "Don't worry about it, but we know what you got ahead of you. You don't play. You don't have to play." He was out there in tears because he just wanted to be out there in the field.
Wow.
But they didn't want to risk him playing quarterback, so he played wide receiver and defensive back.
Okay. Okay.
And man, he was phenomenal to watch.
I bet.
So I stayed at Appleton for 3 years. Now I'm living in Jessup. My ex-wife had moved my son to Brunswick. Well, I got offered the opportunity to go be the OC at Brunswick High School.
Okay.
And what the funny story about that is I was coaching quarterbacks at Appleton, but he was looking for an O-line coach, and I had sent him my resume. And I knew the guy from my time at Long and stuff like that. So I had sent him my resume, and he said, "Coach," and he'd kind of been blowing me off, and I'm like, "Coach, I mean, we talked, and he said you kind of got cold on me." He said, "Well, Coach, I'm really looking for an O-line guy, and you're a quarterback." I said, "Coach, you didn't look at my resume. First 10 years of my coaching career, all I did was O-line." And he was like, "What?"
Right.
Let me look at that again.
let me go back and flip the papers. Yeah.
So then so I ended up getting hired.
Now, what year is this?
This is 14.
Okay.
And then, so I got the head coaching job at Long in 5. I stayed there till 10, 11. I think it was 11. Did 3 years at Appleton.
Okay.
Now a little tidbit. I'm the winningest head coach in Long County history.
Oh.
With 13 whole wins.
13 wins.
Now I think this cat is.
You need to do a meet and greet,
yeah, man. So I'm still holding on. They've had like 3 other head coaches or 4 other head coaches since then. But I think this guy that's there now is going to break it because he got the first non-losing season last year. Made the playoffs for the first time. Yeah. Wow. So I think he's going to. They have 5 wins, and so I think he's going to end up breaking it.
Dang, Coach, man, we got to hold on to that 13.
But I've held it for a long time now. I've held it for about 15 years because 12 years because that was 2010 when I lived there.
Yeah.
But so I get to Brunswick in 14, and that December they fired a head coach. So I'm looking for a new job. So I take a job at a school called McIntosh County Academy. Now, when people tell you probably shouldn't go work for that guy, you probably shouldn't go work for that guy.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up firing me at the end of that season. And it was probably for the best because I don't think we'd have continued to. But I got a job at Camden County. Now all this time I've been in that area. I've been trying to get a job at Camden, and I finally get a job at Camden. And they have the worst season they've ever had in like 20.
I think it's like a Camden normally they
were I think they were like 11 like 10-2 the year before.
Okay. So you thought I'm going into a good situation?
Yeah, be all right.
Yeah.
They went 2-8.
Wow.
First losing season in like forever. And I think, but now at the end of that season, that head coach resigns. He's going to go be the AD. They bring in this other coach, and I'm thinking, and the guy that they hired as the offensive coordinator. I knew the guy, and he doesn't stay anywhere in like more than 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, and they're going to spread now. They were always a wing T team.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be the offensive coordinator in 3 years at Camden County. I'm about to get paid.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to ride that thing out. In the meantime, my buddy, a guy I coached with at Brunswick, was at Brooks County, and he called me and he said, our offensive coordinator is about to take this job, and I'm gonna apply for it. I said, hey, anything you need from me, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Has the meeting, calls me back on a Monday. Says, Coach doesn't think I got enough experience. He wants a guy, and he said, you fit every category he's looking for. You need to apply for this job.
Wow.
I said, well, I'll think about it. And I got off the phone with him. I said, I ain't thinking about that. I'm going to be the offensive coordinator at Camden County in 3 years.
Yeah, he's like, hey, yeah.
Camden County.
Yeah.
He calls me back on a Tuesday, calls me back on a Wednesday. And so he called me back on Wednesday. I said, all right. I had a buddy of mine that was coaching at Fitzgerald, was in the same region as Brooks.
Okay.
And I said, Jim, all right, I've been asked to apply for this OC job at Brooks. Tell me what you think. He says, you need to apply for that job. I said, Jim, you know I'm at Camden, right? Yeah. I'm at Camden. I said, no, Coach, you need to apply for that job. Wow. They got 2 defensive ends I don't think we can block. They got some players. You need to apply for that. So after that conversation with him, I sent my stuff in. So to make that long story a little bit shorter, I ended up being the OC. I didn't even stay a whole year at Camden. I left in April and was at Brooks and was the OC at Brooks.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so I stayed there for 5 years. The first year we went to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
The second year we get knocked out in the second round, and Brooks hadn't been knocked out in the second round in like 13 years, coach. So I'm like, oh.
Here we go. Right.
All right, so then we start the next year,
Yeah.
and we start the year 1-3. And I'm like, ooh.
Did I make the right decision?
Well, no, I'm thinking I'm about to get axed here now.
Right, right.
But we turned it on, and we end up going to the state championship that year. So what I figured out that year at Brooks was, number one, we were small single A. The first 2 years I was there, we were double. Well, the first 3. So they were finishing, and we had 2 cycles. We never got to play schools our size in the non-region schedule. So we were always playing up. So like at Brooks, you've heard of Bainbridge, Cairo.
Yeah.
Those were some of our non-region games because because teams that were our size wouldn't play us.
Right.
So if you know anything about Brooks, Coach Freeman's motto is "Bring that hammer."
Yeah.
So I was helping him that first off season, trying to, because we're going into a new cycle, and I'm going to try to help him schedule some games. I called a school in Florida. I said, hey, because they'd posted on the Florida High School website they need a game. I said, hey, look, we need a game too.
Yeah.
Would y'all? I said, Brooks County. He said, yeah. He said, y'all bring that hammer. I said, yeah, that's us. You ain't bringing it here. I'm like, look, you need a game coach. I said, no, I heard
You ain't
about
bringing
y'all.
that hammer up here, though.
No. So we'd always end up, we
here?
always called our off season, our regular seasons,
Right.
our non-region schedule, the gauntlet.
Okay.
Because we were going through it. And then we were playing Fitzgerald and Thomasville, Early County. So we were playing some tough.
That's some heat.
Yes, sir. So we felt like when we always got through the region, then we got into the playoffs. We were about to test
time.
it.
Yeah.
It was about to test it.
Yeah.
So that first year, we ended up playing. We played Dublin in the regular season and was up on all 3 of our losses that we had that year in the non-region schedule. We were up on every one of them at half and then lost.
That says a lot.
Yeah, but I will give Freeman a lot of credit for this. He was always very steady. He said, I don't really care about what my those non-region games. All I want to know is that we're getting better every week, because he knew we were playing tough opponents.
Right.
And then we got into the region schedule, and it just took off, and we ended up just flying through the playoffs, and then ran into Dublin again in the state championship, lost it. So, and then so as a coordinator, I was always wondering. As a coach, I always wondered, am I good enough to coach at that level? Can I get us to a state championship game? Well, I got us there, and we lost.
We lost that thing.
And then the next year, we get there again, lose it again. So and that one really hurt, because I felt like we had the opportunity to win that one.
And that was against who then?
It was against Irwin.
Irwin.
So Irwin had won it. So when we lost it the year before, Irwin had won it in single A.
Okay.
We had dropped down to single A, and Irwin was in our region. And they beat us in the regular season, and then they beat us in the state championship game. Now, I felt like in the state championship game we had a chance. And my quarterback at one time had got hurt, and I didn't know that. We come to find out of the game, he actually broke his ankle.
Yeah.
And he tried to make a throw and floated it and got a pick 6. And that happened to be the point difference in the game. And I was like, so that one stung for me a lot, because I was like, damn, that's the point difference.
Right.
Well, then we were able to get back the next year, lost to Irwin in the regular season again, but we ended up beating the brakes off of them in the state championship game.
How did
it was
that
awesome.
feel, though, Coach?
Oh, Coach, it was relief. It was happiness, and it was like, because the manner in which we did it was so dominant.
Yeah.
Omari Arnold, that's at Georgia Southern right now, broke the state championship, broke Herschel Walker's state championship rush record that night. We had 320 yards rushing, and 5 touchdowns. So it was like to dominate them like that, to say, I got you, and then go out and do it. Oh, Coach, it was such a relief. And then now to sit back and say, you don't question, am I good enough to win it? Yeah, I'm good enough to win it.
Because I was about to ask you, man, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to think about it, Coach, man. Your journey, You know, you had a lot of,
Yeah.
you feel me? Like the
A lot
time
of
where you
stuff.
like, you question everything. But to finally win that thing,
Yes, sir.
my God. So, well, all that worth it, though, to get to that point.
It was, Coach. I mean, it was just like, because go back to my Long County days, we never sniffed the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I would just like to coach in the
You want to see
playoffs.
how it feels.
Yeah, I just want to coach in the playoff one time. And then I go to Appleton the next year and make it to the Final Four. And I'm like, oh, so close.
Yeah.
I'll never be this close
Yeah.
again. And then the next time I get to the Final Four is at Brooks that first year. And I'm like, oh, so close again.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to start like, do I got the juice to
Yeah.
get us there?
Yeah.
Because it you know, that Final Four game against Rayburn County wasn't. It was a 6 turnover night for the offense, and we only lost 23-17.
Wow.
So if we don't turn the ball over, we win the game.
You win the game, yeah.
And you're just like, oh. And you felt like, you know, you kind of feel like it's your fault that you lost, and because you're the offensive coordinator, and
it's all on your back.
Yeah. So to get there and win it was just kind of like, all right, I am that coach. I can do that. So the challenge. So when I saw that Glisson had posted the OC job, now I knew, without getting into a lot of it, I knew that was going to be my last year at Brooks. The teaching situation had soured.
Yeah.
The relationship with the head coach, although it was still a good one and still workable one, another year would not have been a good one.
Right.
So I felt like it was time.
Yeah.
It was time for a change. And the other factor was I have some family that live up in this area. I got a brother who lives in Dallas, a sister lives in Ackworth, and another one lives over in Monroe, Georgia, about 2 hours away. Well, my mom lives with me. She's lived with me for my stepfather passed away, a good 10 years ago now.
Okay.
So she's lived with me ever since then. And she's 78 years old.
Okay.
And she gets along. She still gets along pretty well.
Man, that's a blessing, man.
Yes, it is. So, and I felt like, you know, I've kept her down in South Georgia, and the kids didn't really come down to visit. You know, they got families and stuff like that, so they didn't come visit her that much. And I felt like I wanted to get her up closer to them. And I applied for head coaching jobs all up around here and didn't even get a sniff, man. I mean, nobody even. And then I thought after the state championship game, I wrote some of them back.
Yeah.
Oh, coach, that was a great job in that game. But we've already picked this guy. I'm like, So when coach posted that, and I knew that, and I knew of them because when we played Callaway a few years ago at Brooks, and come up here and whooped them in the Final Four. I should say whooped them because they came back on us. That was the year they had Tank.
Yeah.
But we ended up winning. That was the first year we went to the state championship game. They had kind of given us some information.
Yeah,
said,
I remember all this too.
So we don't like Callaway. We want you to beat them. So it was like, okay. So they gave us. So we kind of had developed a little bit of relationship with them. So when he posted the job, I'd sent him an email and I said, hey, Coach, I think it was on Twitter. I said, Coach, I'm interested in this job, but I'd really like to finish our season first. So this was like week 2 of the playoffs. And, you know, and I'm like, you know, a lot of these coaches, they ain't going to wait that long.
Right.
And so if we make, and we felt like at Brooks we could make another run. We didn't. So when I sent him that, he was like, yeah, Coach, I'm interested, and hey, good luck on it. So we went again, and then we went again. I'm like, Coach, I'm still interested.
right. Let's know I'm still interested now.
Yeah, so, you know, I know I just really like to get, I mean, we're so close. I like to get this season in. And he was real patient and said, yeah, I'll wait. Then we win the Final Four game, and I'm like, Coach, I understand if you got to move on, but I really just want to close this out. I just want to stay focused on this. And then he's like, no, Coach, we're good. By the way, what do you teach? So, you know, and at this time, you know, Coach, we're putting it. This is what I liked about Brooks, and when we got into the playoffs, we always averaged more yards and more points per game than we did in the regular season. Because by the time we got there, we always felt like we were kind of clicking. And then we'd seen every defense we were going to throw. So we don't change the offense. I mean, we're going to run this. I'm going to find out what you do. I'm going to find out what it takes.
I like it.
And then we stay with it. And so we averaged 45 points a game in the regular season. When we were on, I mean, we had some players last year. In the playoffs, Coach, we averaged 52 points a game.
Crazy, man.
I mean, how do you do that against the best opponent?
Come on, man.
So he's kind of watching now. After I send that first one, he's kind of watching us as we go along and seeing how we're doing, and he's seeing all these
Seeing the
big
numbers coming, yeah.
popping in there. So they were like, they're holding on, and then so we get in the state championship game and we do that, and so we went home. Brooks, we drove home after the game. I get home. We get home about 4 o'clock in the morning. By the time I get to bed, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
It's like 5:30. So I'm like, I got to get some sleep, but I'm so excited. I wake up in the morning. I see a text from Coach. Listen, where can I send the U-Haul? I'm like, Coach, man, we ain't even talking about pay. We ain't talking about a job. So that and they kind of just went from there. And then I ended up coming up for a visit, and he said, "You're my dude." Yeah, you're my dude. And I felt like. What I felt like about it, though, and I had talked to a couple other people before I came, and they were like, man, you got to take that job. Like one of them, Will McPherson, who's our own line coach, his dad is Randy McPherson. And I had who was the head coach at Lowndes for all those years. So I had a relationship with him because at Brooks, we would always go and throw against Lowndes every summer.
Okay.
We were going to go throw against them 2 times. We were going to go once in July and once in June. And I'm going to tell you, those were like marathon 7-on-7 days because it was just us and them.
I bet it was crazy.
And so I got to know Randy a little bit through that. And but what I really didn't know is how much he watched me. I never really thought about it because I always thought, like, what do other coaches think about me?
Right.
So Glisson had called him. And then Glisson had called the head coach at Dublin.
He trying to see what's up.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I don't know the head coach at Dublin personally. I know who he is. I know he's Roger Holmes, but we've never had that relationship. He called him, and he said, Coach, I'd hire that dude in a second.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. That guy don't know if he Matter of fact.
But he knows your work, though.
Yes, because the year because we always, we scored. I don't think we scored less than 30 on them. Right? They had them, the year that we lost them, they had those 2 guys going to Miami. Big backs, and so they were scoring 40 on us, and we couldn't quite keep up with them. But the next year we played them in the second round of playoffs. Coach, we smoked them. So, and it was like, Coach, it was like 49-7 or something like that.
I bet that felt good. But
yeah. So he called him, and I'd hire
he did his homework then.
Yeah. And then Coach McPherson, he said, "Oh God, Coach, yes I would. I've seen this guy." Which makes you feel good because you're like, I didn't even know the guy watched me. Yeah. And he said, when I was coming up, the day I was coming up to meet with him for the interview, I'd called Coach McPherson on the way up, and I said, Coach, I'm driving up there now. Tell me, I said, be brutally honest with me before because I'll turn this car around now.
Just let me know. I can't go through it again.
He said, well, let me ask you one question. Did you call every play? I said, every one of them. He said, Coach, you want to take that job. I'm like, wow. He says, yeah, they got some dudes. He said it's a mini Lowndes County. Yeah. He's got untapped potential. And what I liked about it, Teo Todd, Quay Moss, Trey Blackman, those type of guys was a mirror image of exactly what I just had at Brooks.
Oh my
with my quarterback, my running back, my receivers. Now, the difference was we were in a system for 5 years there. We're here. We had to teach everything from the jump.
From the
start.
Yes.
It was like brand new.
Yes.
So, so that's how I ended up here.
Yeah.
And here was the thing. I told him, I was offered several offensive coordinator jobs, but I was trying to get a head coaching job, and I couldn't get a head coaching job. I didn't even all them other people. I said no, no. And this was the only offensive coordinator job that I reached out to and said, I'm interested in that job.
Wow. So Coach, but look, man, now you're here, man, and you guys are rolling, man. So like
for now.
Right. You guys are rolling.
My girlfriend gets on to me because I always say I'm cautiously optimistic.
Well, look, that's not a bad thing though. But I'm saying though, Coach, like now that you have, like you said, the guys you just named, your Teos, your Mosses, and your Blackman, man, where do your mind go with athletes like that?
Oh, Coach, how can I get the ball to them?
Yes.
Essentially that's it. First off, I try to build things off speed. Give me
Yeah.
speed, because again, that's one thing you can't. You want to be fast. If
Yeah,
they're fast, you know, and they can't catch you.
Because
I
high school
get you
ball,
out of
high
space,
school
that's
ball, if you
right.
got a fast kid,
Yes, sir.
kids,
Yes,
oh, he
sir.
can get
You
ugly.
got more than one.
He can get ugly.
So, kind of little design of the offense, I give it too much away. Is we want the defense hates space. So what do I want them to make them play? I want them to make them play in space, make them cover. They got to cover from that sideline to that sideline, from this end zone to that end. You got to cover it all.
Yeah.
You can't just load up and get me in the box. So we've got to be willing to, you know, take what they give us, is what I always tell. I tell the quarterback, you just got to take what they give you. So the passing game is designed, I relate it to basketball. So the deep balls are your three-pointers, and your short passes are your layups. You know, when you shoot the three-pointer, about 30%. If you're really good, you might be 40, right?
Yeah.
So when we throw that deep ball, even though they call it a 50-50 ball, it might be about 30%.
Yeah.
But those out passes, now I should be completing those at about an 80%, 90% click. And now I get that ball out to that guy in space fast. My offensive line doesn't have to block so long, because I try to tell I want that ball out in about 2 seconds. Get it out. They don't have to block as long, because you know high school offensive line is longer. They got to block. That ain't in your favor.
That is not in your favor, man.
So we get it out in space and try to let them run. And then we take our
shot.
shot.
That's the only right thing to do, though, with kids like that.
Yes, sir. And then you know, when they get a chance to do that, and then you take your shots when they give them to you, when you think they fall asleep, or the design is there to take that shot.
But Coach, last week, man, you brought the Tebow swag out, man. Where you get that from, baby? You brought it not only one time, but twice.
You're gonna love this story then too.
Give me the Tebow story, man.
So now the first one was not supposed to be a jump pass. He added that.
Okay.
He added that. That design, I can give that one up. That was a simple design. So it was our heavy set where we bring two Fs, take the tailback out, direct snap and pull it. We go in motion. We felt like the safety would go in motion. The corner would have to come in and play the tight end, and he'd fall asleep. That was the designer. That's what you're hoping for.
Right.
Well, they did exactly that. That's great. So, and then, you know, Bird is 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". So we said, just give him a jump ball to go rebound that thing in the back. And all you got to do is just put it up in the air.
And let him rebound it.
Yep. Now, he added the little jump on that one. Okay.
Yeah.
But he threw the perfect ball, and gave it a Bird. If you look at the picture of it, man,
it's a nice shot.
So that was just kind of the design of that one, and it you know, sometimes you get lucky when you draw them up and it works out just like you draw it up, and sometimes it looks bad.
Right.
All right. So the second touchdown, you're gonna love this story.
Okay.
So when we played Callaway in the Final Four at Brooks, I had run that play as the game-winning touchdown.
Cool. So you went back on him, Coach.
I did.
You went back on him.
I said, I'm going to run this play on him again and see if they defend it. I knew I'd put it in. That was like one of our – see, we always practice specific two-point plays.
Okay.
And that was one of them that I'd put in. I said, because I knew in this game I was going to run – if I got a situation, I was going to run it and see if they would like, oh, he ran this play on us. God. So we've been practicing on it, and that is the big Tim Tebow jump pass. So when we played them in the Final Four, you know, we jumped on them 21-0.
Okay.
And the next thing I knew, we were down 28-21. Wow. Yeah, or 26-21. And then they actually got up on us by 11. And, you know, we're feeling our playoffs, you know, it's slim.
Yeah.
Well, we hit a touchdown pass. We stopped them, hit a touchdown pass, and now we're down by 4. Our 3. I think it was 3 at the time, because we ended up winning by 5. It was 39-35, so by 4. Okay. So we're down by 3. We marched the ball down the field. Same situation. We're trying to run. You know, I put Amari Arnold back there, quarterback, direct snap to him. Well, they just sold out for the run, so we called it. And I knew it. I called it, and it was wide open touchdown. So that was the game. Now there was 8 minutes and a half left still in the game. We had to get it stopped. That's when they marched down the field on 4th down, flexed out Tank. And I'm up in the box, and me and the other defense, I said, they just flexed them out. We were like, oh my God, no, they didn't. They just flexed them out. It was 4th and 3. We ain't stopped this joker all night. And then they tried to pass to him. And then we got to get one first down.
Yep.
So I knew going into this game, I said, if I get a chance, and then we'd been in the 2 drives before, or the drive before for sure, when they called Teo's fumble.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fumble, but when they had called it because they were, and then we got into it on that drive in that heavy set, and it's just power right, power left for the quarterback. And I saw the 2 plays before they had sold out on the run.
Everything.
I was like, they are not going to see this fullback slide out of there.
Right.
Now, what I didn't know, and Healy told me after the game, he said, man, what a gutsy call on 4th down. Because I didn't know it was 4th down. I should have known it was 4th down.
Well,
I just saw the call,
right,
and I said, we're going to run it. And
wow.
And I'm gonna tell you this, Mathis made a heck of a catch.
Oh, that was nasty.
Yeah,
nasty.
it was awesome to kind of, I'm like, that was the same play.
Yeah.
I hit you on a game-winning touchdown, and I hit you again.
Hit you again, right?
Yeah.
So, Coach, man, listen, man. So, man, first of all, man, I want to tell you, man, your story is like, it's a true story of just, perseverance. Just like not giving, because I mean, you could have tapped out a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I thought at one point I was gonna.
You feel me? But you kept pushing, got that championship, and now you're in a new place, man, where you leading, you know what I'm saying, a new group of guys, man. So you know what I mean? So we're gonna be definitely watching you all season, Coach, checking you out, man.
Well, that's the exciting challenge with these new guys. Is can I repeat that magic?
Yes, sir.
That's what's kind of giving me the drive.
Yes, sir.
Because after I won it, now it's like I did what I wanted to do in coaching. Now I know that I'm good enough. It's like, and the funniest, after that, my girlfriend was like, "You'll never give up coaching." And after that state championship game, I said, "Honey, I could not coach another down and be satisfied." Right. I did the thing I wanted to do. So now the challenge. So it was kind of nice to come here, and it was like, now the challenge is, can I do it again?
Can you do it again?
And so that gives you that drive, and then you're doing it again, and then you see how desperate the situation was offensively, and you're like, wow, this is a lot of work. And then so you look at, I don't know if I got the drive, but then it's like, man, I can't fail.
Can't give it up though.
Yeah.
Can't give it up though, man. Cause it's some good stuff, man. So, Coach, so I'm gonna tell you, man. So at the end of every show, man, I always ask the, my guests, man, to leave the viewers and the listeners something positive. Look into that camera and give it to them, baby.
My Jesus. Oh, okay. Oh, something positive.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, now you put me on the spot. Now you wait till the end.
Yeah,
you could
put you on that spot.
You could have gave me the hint, and I was going to have to come up with that.
Right.
I mean, I'll give you something like we always tell when a player tells me I thought. I said there's a world of difference between thinking and knowing. When you know, you do the right thing.
Yes, sir.
Just do things consistently. It's a world of difference.
Yes, sir.
No, don't guess about what you're doing in life. Just know what you're doing.
What you're doing.
And you can get a lot of things out of that.
That's good stuff, man. Coach, man, I appreciate the love, baby. I appreciate the love, man. Listen,
I hope you got what you want.
Man, look, I did, because you're the man, baby. I had to, man. I appreciate it, man. So listen, man, y'all check Coach out on Friday nights, man. Troup Tiger, we got the OC doing his business, baby. So again, Coach, appreciate you, man. We'll be watching you, man. We're definitely gonna be keeping up with you, man.
I hope it was worth your time.
It definitely was, baby. Look, man, y'all know what it is, baby. Zip them up.